Okay, hello. Let's take a quick look at the RevenueCat iOS SDK because it's one of the bigger and most interesting open source iOS related SDKs I could find. So that's why I picked this one. What is RevenueCat? RevenueCat, if I limit it to iOS, it wraps StoreKit to make it more usable and user-friendly. It kind of abstracts whether you're using StoreKit 1 or 2. Then their backend basically gathers data about your purchases. So you need to, I guess, you could take a look at App Store Connect, but if you have an iOS and Android app, which is very likely, and some other income through Stripe, let's say, this RevenueCat kind of merges all that together. And if you upload some data about your users to their backend, you can also use targeting to do things like offer discount to users in Brazil or something like that. I saw that they started working on configurable paywalls. There's A/B tests, yeah, that kind of stuff. Anyway, this just let's finally take a look at the repository, which is here. Let me quickly refresh because they're committing like crazy. And yeah, as I started reading through the repo, there was a mention, yeah, compatible with Swift and Objective-C. I've actually seen, as I kind of skip through some of the more recent commits, there is things like someone introducing a model object. I believe that instead of using a Swift struct, it was actually still a class that inherits from NS object. The only reason for that I can think of is to make it work with Objective-C still, which, yeah. And another interesting thing I would like to take a look at before we dive into the code is this tip that when integrating with SPM, it is recommended to add to use the SPM mirror repository for faster download and integration time. I have it open here, and let me also refresh. And my understanding is that what you basically do is, or like a Swift Package Manager basically wants your repo behind the scene, and which is unlike I don't know, NPM, where you publish basically an archive to a CDN. From what I understand, I believe that every quote unquote reasonable package manager works like this, and I believe that SPM actually quote unquote added support for that as well. There's this open specification, and you can build your own registry. I believe that the guys from Twist are working on that. Yep, definitely check out Twist. But for now, the common practice is to just integrate with a GitHub repository. So I thought that they would shake off a bunch of stuff that's not really needed for a Swift package, like the pod spec, for instance, which is for Cocoa pods. I don't know, you probably don't need the folder with examples. You don't need the XC project and XC workspace. This is a more, the folder with Fastlane. We will go through it. This is a more controversial one, but you arguably don't need the tests for tests as well. So I thought that they would basically remove all that stuff and or do something like squash the history to have one commit per release. But from what I've seen, I haven't run this through like any like diffing tool, to be honest, but from what I've noticed is that there's just slightly less commits, 3.8.3.5 versus 3.8.4.5. And so my understanding is that there just isn't commits that are not a part of a release. If we do this latest commit here and put it here and search for it, it is right here. Commit history outside of that seems to be the same. So yeah, if and when I have a chance to talk with someone from the RevenueCat, Purchase.iOS team, I'm definitely planning to ask about this. Another thing is, if we quickly look at actions and workflows, from what I've quickly checked, they seem to be using Circle CI. This is where all the interesting workflows are. And when I try to search for the name of this repository, I find this deploy to SPM step, or whatever it's called, with Circle CI. You clone the repo, get fetch tags and push tags from what I understand, kind of. Yeah, shaves of commits that are not under a tag. So let's. So what I have the SDK. I clone it. I clicked on the main project. It's built right away, which is pretty cool. I have it open in Xcode, and I also have it open in Visual Studio here, because Xcode unfortunately doesn't show you a bunch of files, especially hidden files that start with this dot. It's just not showing them, which is, I don't know why. Like, they just don't add support, at least for that. Let's quickly take a look at the Circle CI, since I was talking about it. How many? Okay, 1,500 lines of code. There is all sorts of jobs to run tests. Some weekly run wolf. Not sure what daily load shader is. Yeah, they're running tests for they do support iOS all the way to iOS 13, so they're running tests on various iOS versions with various Xcodes. Tests for cardage. Something for building dogs. Okay, run tests on iOS 13. That is a blast from the past. They get Xcode 14. I guess that's the lowest Xcode they support. And yeah, run tests against it. And use some Fastlane lanes to scan the whatever it spits out and notify on. Like, yep. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the files we have here. Honestly, it's been years since I published a pod, so yeah, this is, you can see that the minimum deployment target is indeed iOS 13. And another interesting thing is that they support Swift all the way back to 5.7, which, if you're an iOS developer and you're trying to convince the leadership to support like just one iOS version back, or two, maybe instead of three, that's still nothing, still a bit easy compared to this, where you need to, I can imagine that like one side of the spectrum is people with Objective-C code bases that using Xcode 14 and supporting iOS 13, because why not? And the other side of spectrum is people making new apps with Swift 6 with strict concurrency checking turned on, yelling at you that it's showing some warnings around concurrency. I can imagine that this is not challenging, yes, but challenging in a fun way, probably not. So anyway, you can have, I don't know if you're aware, but you can have different package.swift files for different Swift versions. Like this, if you want to use stuff, APIs here, or properties, whatever you want to call it. That's not really that Swift 5.7 parser wasn't really aware of. This is how you do it. And we can take a look at package.swift since we're here. I saw that you can use this local.config file, which basically serves as, that's right here. Make a copy of this file, remove the sample, sure. And they are basically using it as an environmental file. So I guess you need RevenueCat API key to develop against features that require a backend part. And you may want to run the backend locally, or the kind of stuff. So that's coming through here. But there's also environmental variables. Process info environment. Okay, so they have it kind of split in two places. I'm not sure if this picks up like .env file. Another thing I would and will ask about when I have a chance. For dependencies, they're using Nimble. Nimble is, in case you didn't know or don't know, Nimble, or there's this testing framework called Quick, which is pretty cool actually, and still being actively maintained. And it's if you have someone, if you have to contribute someone to your iOS code base that comes from like the JavaScript backend or maybe Ruby backend, they would be pretty familiar with this type of testing from RSpec or what is it called on iOS? Not on iOS, in the JavaScript world. Jest, I believe, is the name of that framework that also can do this. Yeah, you're basically like XC test is kind of flat. You're like test this, test this, test this, test this. In here, you can are kind of nesting tests. You end up in some state and you pick up from that state, and which is yeah, quite useful actually. I don't know the first thing that came to my mind and how I've actually used Quick was to test one of the backends I've written that's actually written in Swift for my side project Indie Pitcher. And usually like what you're doing is that you create a user. For a user, you create an organization. Under an organization, you create a project. And now you're in this kind of default state and you want to kind of use this as your like starting point. And okay, what do I do now? What if I edit that project? What if I delete that project? What if I don't know, start doing some other stuff? So anyway, they don't seem to be using Quick, but they use Nimble, which can be used without Quick and makes it easier, better, more user-friendly to do, XCT assert. It also, yeah, I totally agree. I would totally go for the setup. You don't necessarily need Quick unless you're doing like something, but that Nimble is nice. Swift testing, the new testing framework that I believe is shipped with Swift, that requires Swift 6, I believe. It's like open source on GitHub, but I believe, yeah, it's straight from Apple. It's bundled with Xcode and stuff when you're Xcode 16, but it's also open source here. But the thing is that Swift does version 6.0, so you cannot really. So these guys are gonna stick with Nimble for quite some time still. Anyway, but yeah, Nimble is cool. Take a look at it. Definitely, if you're in a similar situation, if you're fine using just Xcode 16, you can just use APIs from Swift testing, where they actually kind of copied like similar patterns that Nimble has using macros. Doxy plugin to generate documentation. And this is the main target for the SDK, and I guess there's a separate one for UI, which I guess is those paywalls and stuff. Yeah, you can copy resources, override build settings, exclude some paths. Nothing too fancy here. This is that local config. If we continue, global config. This file's main purpose is to be able to make local config an optional configuration settings file. Otherwise, builds would fail. Okay, that's nice because I just cloned the repo, opened the main project in Xcode, and basically hit Command B, and it did build successfully. All right. Let's just go through the rest since we're here. Maybe we'll stumble upon some tooling you weren't aware of. Gemfile to install. Yeah, most of the tooling for iOS used to be, and arguably still is, written in Ruby, so that's why this Gemfile for Fastlane, CodeCov.yml, Danger, and stuff. Then there's Dangerfile, which I guess it's in a separate repository. It is. Anyway, Dangerfile is Danger is Danger is basically a linter for your pull requests. You can automate things such as, I don't know, if you change something, you may want to modify the changelog. When you're using SwiftLint, for instance, you can kind of show SwiftLint, the linter violations in line, as if a physical person would basically comment on a pull request. That's pretty cool. I think that to a certain degree it's being substituted by using just GitHub Actions, but still, yeah. I've used this quite extensively in past. Codecov, and I mean, let's take a look at what's inside actually, since we have it open. Fail if no supported label found. Okay, this is like pull request labels. PR size increase check. Okay. So if you did something that simply significantly increases the size of that SDK, it warns and fails even if it's too big. And that's all I can see here. Okay. Codecov. Codecov is a way to visualize code coverage. Code coverage is when you're running tests, like what percentage of your code base or which files are covered by tests. And Codecov is this software as a service that got bought by Sentry, as I see, that you might have seen. Yeah. I mean, they have this like dashboard with all kind of stuff when you sign in. And again, I've used this in the past, but I wish I could like stop this video here. But they used to be, I don't know if they still are free for. I guess they still are free for open source projects. So you could have seen this a lot, where maybe you try to contribute an open source project to open a PR, and this Codecov thing shows up, checking if you haven't decreased the code coverage by a contribution. So that's code coverage. Code of conduct. Okay, fine. Changelog that gets somehow generated. Brewfile. I assume you know what Homebrew is. I still, whatever I can install through Homebrew, I install through Homebrew. This is, actually I haven't used Brewfile, but it's, I guess, how to share this, having the same utilities installed. I don't see this pinned to like particular versions here, which is interesting. Anyway, obviously installing SwiftLint, which is a linter that runs as a part of your build process or on the CI. I mean, where it also probably runs as a part of your build process, even though it can run separately. And SwiftLint, yeah, it's a linter. You can write custom rules using regex. There's a bunch of rules already in there. And I see that right here is a SwiftLint file, which is how you configure SwiftLint. Yeah, you can. This is what folders and files should be excluded from linting. There's a bunch of rules. Not all of them are included by default. You can turn on the ones that aren't. Like, I guess missing docs is not turned on by default. Makes sense. You can disable certain ones. And you can write custom rules, which are, regex. Based. I actually don't have that many custom rules. At my last gig, we would have like tens and tens and tens of custom rules because there was this idea that is kind of like when it compiles, it's allowed. Anyway, if we go quickly to that, Xcodes is it allows you to be switching Xcodes. XC Beautify is actually pretty cool that I didn't really know of. I want to take a look at that and maybe try it for some of my open source things on GitHub. A little beautifier tool for what I saw here is that it looks like it can, when you like run tests on the CI and they fail, kind of like with Danger, it looks like it can show it like this, which is pretty cool. That's why I was kind of saying that I feel like the Danger is kind of being slowly replaced by using just GitHub Actions. But this is something I want to take a closer look at. Definitely. And honestly, I'm not sure what this is. I guess I'll need to ask John Holtz. When I try to like Google for it or put it in ChatGPT, there's some Python editor called Spider, and this is some configuration file for it, but I'm not sure that's that sounds a bit wild to me. But I've seen this in like other repositories or maybe in like Apple ones, and I don't know what this is, to be honest. No, Jekyll. Jekyll is that's some is Jekyll. I think it's some static page generator. Yeah, I don't know why they have it here, but anyway. Sources, tests. What is plugin file? Okay, there's some Fastlane plugins. We can quickly go to Fastfile. Fastlane is a set of tools written in Ruby to make things like code signing and distribution easier. One of the main contributors to Fastlane is John Holtz these days, who works for RevenueCat, as far as I know, so it makes sense that they're using it. And in case if you're using something like either some iOS related tooling on top of inside GitHub or using something like Bitrise, it's quite possible that whatever they're using is just a wrapper around one of these Fastlane tools. You have these things called lanes where you're basically configuring things that should happen around code signing, distribution, and that kind of stuff. I believe they also use it to run tests and all kinds of stuff. Another one looks like someone's using it with Visual Studio Code. And one interesting thing that when I opened, I believe, not GitHub, but that oh yeah, that's not, it was inside scripts folder. So inside scripts folder, they have SwiftLint that they use through Homebrew. Yep, we've seen that. And this is documentation. And then there's this pre-commit thing that, in case you didn't know, you can hook pre-commit logic to your GitHub when you're about to commit something. And they verify that you did not include any API keys, which makes total sense because the SDK is being developed in the open. So if you accidentally push an API key, I mean that's it. I mean all you can do is to go and reset it because it's been compromised. And looks like they also run SwiftLint, and there's this idea that you should not commit something that has, like, let's say, linter violations. And I have opinions on that. I mean, of course, you don't want that to make to like the main branch or something like that, but I've been in situations where, long day was long, I'm about to commit whatever I was working on, and error because just like something is not formatted correctly, and that's in those situation. I'm like, just let me commit it to my branch, so the stuff isn't that I spent hours sweating over isn't just on my local machine. But yeah, anyway. There's some CI scripts for tests and stuff. But anyway, I think that we can finally take a look at some of the code. Another thing that's interesting is that when I built it, okay. I was going to show you that it's generating warnings around documentation, but I don't see it anymore. What I'm seeing instead is warnings around concurrency. Do I have the right thing open? Yeah, I mean, interesting. Like I'm pretty sure I did this. I opened the workspace, but when you like close Xcode and open it again, it like open just the package or something. Anyway, this is what I wanted to show you. Yeah, there's these warnings missing some completion parameter, and it's even suggesting to fix it. And I'm not entirely sure where this warning is coming from, to be honest. I originally thought that it was SwiftLint, but first of all, SwiftLint shows the name of the rule, the violated rule. This must be coming from ObjC somewhere, but I'm not sure where exactly, or it's like somehow the ObjC plugin or something. Anyway, let's take a look at the actual SDK. I believe I saw on there configure the SDK Swift. Okay, purchases configure. So there's I assume class called purchases, which is over 2,000 lines long. And yeah, as you can see, it's all tagged with Objective-C. Yeah, they obviously have still a decent amount of customers using Objective-C, which must be a real pain for the developers. Interacting with this SDK. Final class purchase inherits from NS object, obviously, so it can be marked as Objective-C. Conforms to what is some protocol, purchases type, and Purchases.swift type. Okay. There should be a method called configure that has a bunch of overloads. That's fine. Set the default instance because this is a singleton. Fine. I can enable debug logs, configuration. I am more interested in identifying users. Import RevenueCat, sure. I mean, I assume that there is something called shared, yes, since this is a singleton. Okay, it's actually right. I was just actually, I guess, staring right at it. Yeah, custom made for Objective-C. If there's not if it's not configured, fatal error out. For Swift, you could do something like a throw-in getter, but I agree that in this case, even if you didn't have to deal with Objective-C stuff, yeah, I think that this is fine. It's fine that this is a singleton. It's because you don't want to be like, at the end of the day, it's a wrapper around StoreKit, and you cannot have like two different StoreKit. I believe it's called storefront, and you're probably not going to be like, I don't know, attributing some user data to two different instance projects on RevenueCat. So I think this is perfectly fine. And yeah, that basically yeah, they make it thread safe because I assume they've made it sendable. What is the I know what I'm doing. Uncheck. Yes, here, extension of purchases, unchecked sendable. So if you mark a Swift class or struct as sendable, I assume that an actor is kind of sendable by default. You and a lot of stuff is sendable, made sendable automatically unless you mark it as public, kind of like I don't know, a struct as it's initialized or synthesized, unless you make it public, where the Swift team has decided that you're in the explicit realm, when you mark something public. So the same thing if you want to make a struct or class public, and you want it to be sendable, you need to explicitly mark it as sendable. And if you mark something as sendable, the compiler starts looking into whatever you're doing inside of that class or a struct. And if you're doing something that violates thread safety, basically, it starts yelling at you. Marking something as unchecked sendable is notifying is basically telling the compiler, don't be bothered by what's inside. I know what I'm doing. I'm going to use locks and, whatever synchronization mechanism to make sure that what I'm doing is thread safe. Here's some comments. Okay, this is an unchecked because notification center isn't thread safe as of Swift 5.7. I believe it is now. Yeah, there we go again. Like Apple was like, this is this is thread safe. You can assume it's thread safe, but obviously I assume that this class is also written in ObjC, and they just need to do this stuff manually. And also, I believe that open class only if you want to do this, like check sendability for me for a class, you need to mark that class as final, I believe. Even though, like, if everything inside is sendable and you subclass it, and I kind of feel like the compiler should be able to figure out on its own if even like whatever is in that subclass is sendable, but let's not spend too much time on that. So that's probably another reason why it's unchecked sendable. And let's discard this. Anyway, yeah, so it is sendable now, but yeah, I guess as we kind of discovered, RevenueCat SDK supports with 5.7, iOS 13, Xcode 14, yeah, and I guess it wasn't sendable using that older toolchain as a mutable private delegate. That this isn't actually thread safe. Yeah. That doesn't look particularly thread safe. Indeed. So yeah, they're kind of cheating, which is at least there. I always forget, like, is it unsendable on unchecked sendable? Yeah. This is that class actually technically isn't thread safe just because of this. I mean, at least they and this as well. Yeah, I just did it too. So the compiler isn't yelling at the customers. Yeah, this is a, yeah. Oops, what did I do? Come on. What is going on? Anyway, so yeah, this is Atomic, which is something that is something the Revenue guys made, and it's just some convenient syntactic sugar around a lock, so you don't forget to like unlock it when you lock it. That kind of stuff makes sense. You have a delegate, they use this logger, and that's cool. Proxy URL, what is system info? That's a class. What if I make this class final? Is it gonna fail? Because they're like using it for, it's fine here, but let me try to quickly compile tests. I mean, these guys are no dummies, so I mean, you kind of, yeah. I mean, I didn't really check if it worked before, but yeah. They do mocks by subclassing a class. That's why they cannot be marked as final, which is a questionable thing to do. It's certainly problematic because let me see if it compiles now. It looks like it will. Okay, I don't need to run the tests. I just was interested in if it compiles. And I just to make sure I'm not like making some stuff up here. If I mark this as, yeah, just a warning, which is okay, but it says it will be an error in its Swift 6 language mode. But yeah, non-final class cannot confirm to Sendable. So yeah, obviously the right thing to do would be to make system info a protocol and have like the, and I have always like been struggling what to call it, real version, production version of system info, which would be basically this class and then the mock. I can imagine that this would cause a, yeah, when you do that, there's a lot of boilerplate code that you need to write or generate, and there's definitely stuff like some logic inside that you would not test the real logic, so maybe you would need to kind of mock parts that I don't know what this is using, like, yeah, bundle is obviously something that's not really, so you need to go down the way of injecting like some protocol abstracting bundle and instead of yeah, I mean, yeah, subclassing a class and kind of mocking what you need is an easy and convenient way how to make things testable. But yeah, the sendability checking is now making them pay for it, certainly. And this bundle is a bundle from Core Foundation. Yep. Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, I totally understand why it works like this, but the question is how to move forward from here. So yeah, a bunch of static methods. Fine, but like, how do I make a purchase? I have ChatGPT. How do I make a purchase using the RevenueCat iOS SDK using Swift? Okay, configure. Yes, you need to. Yeah, one thing I want to take a look at is for how long have we been? Okay, almost an hour. Let's do some more. I would, if nothing else, I would like to take a look at how those wrappers on StoreKit look like. Okay, offering current available packages. Purchases shared, get offerings. Okay, get offerings. I was messing with the REST API. They have very nicely written open, not OpenAI, Open API doc that I was kind of using to try to generate a server-side Swift SDK to work with their backend. So that's how I kind of got familiar with what they call offering and kind of stuff. Obviously, Swift has this implicit thing where they can turn a completion handler into an async await thing. I was playing with that here. Let's hope this still compiles us. That was some experiment with when I have like Swift 6 and strict concurrency turned on for this project, so I was just wondering when it shows a warning around concurrency and when it doesn't. So yeah, we can do purchases, shared, get, offerings. I don't want the completion. And okay, missing argument completion. So I cannot make this async. But login I can, for instance. Completion. Why am I not? Yeah, no. It's making me. Okay, there's offerings. So but still, like, how come Swift didn't flip? Maybe because it's marked as at Objective-C. And this login isn't. Yeah, this login isn't. Okay. Oh, I learned something new. So yeah, we get the offerings, and I mean, I'm going like this is some wrappers around with unsafe throwing continuation, get offerings, offer. Okay, I was wondering if it automatically like flips the because what they seem to be doing is instead of like returning a result, they return two optional options. I don't know what the result for that. For I don't know what the reason for that is, to be honest. If it has something to do with object, even though this class isn't like internal line isn't marked as anything Objective-C, and I believe that the result was back in there. I guess no one just changed it to using a result. Anyway, fine. So we get offerings, and there is a package. We have a package, and we can purchase a package. Package is, from what I remember from digging into the SDK, when you take a physical in-app purchase on iOS and Android, web eventually, they do the same. If you want to purchase, I don't know, Pro membership for an app on iOS and Android, it's kind of obviously you have a separate StoreKit purchase, and that Google, what is it called? Google Billing or something like that. But they represent the same thing, so this kind of abstracts them. And so you can try await current. Available packages first. Bang, bang, bang. And this is not throwing. Fine. That's fine. Like when you spin up a test like this and it throws, it just goes to nowhere. But this task, what is it? Extension function on does not allow throwing stuff, which is fine. And let's purchase. Okay, let's take a look at what this does. Are we still in purchase package? You can also purchase a store product. What is a package? Yeah, this is what I was talking about. And I don't know how old this is, but yeah, to make things compatible with Objective-C, they have to be using all these basically classes that inherit from an object. And then you make everything let. So like in theory, this could even be sendable. Yeah, and it is. Okay, so we purchase a package, store product, I guess same story here. Yeah. And there is something called Purchases Orchestration. Orchestrator, pardon me. Purchases Orchestrator SwiftLint. I don't want to be Mr. Obvious, but you can enable or disable certain SwiftLint rules for certain blocks of code. Okay, and purchase. You want to purchase a package. Okay, so it just gets the store product from package, and then you get the package, and here, okay. Fine. Self-log purchase. What does that do? Logger. Okay, so this is not the. This is some custom logger. Self-log. Message. Internal log handler. What is that? Anyway, yeah, I don't want to be digging into what are the like logger destinations are right now. Let's get back. Track purchase started if needed. Diagnostic tracker. Okay. What is diagnostic tracker? That's a protocol. Okay. That's something newer. Okay. iOS 15 only, and it has to be sendable. Can quickly take a look in a new tab. Final class diagnostics tracker type. Interesting name for a protocol, but okay. Okay, so this is saving to some diagnostics file. Okay. Let's start time. Track purchase result if needed. Okay. SK1 is StoreKit1, I assume. SK2 is StoreKit2. If product SK1 product. Okay. And what is product? So that's on protocol. And this is just internal. Yeah. And that is a struct, obviously, and everything, because it doesn't need, yeah. Makes sense. Okay, if it's StoreKit1 wrapper. StoreKit1 wrapper payment. StoreKit one wrapper protocol. Okay. I mean, makes sense. How else would you test this? StoreKit one wrapper, update transaction, remove transaction, should add store payment, StoreKit one wrapper. I assume this is also not final, so because it's being subclassed in tests. Build failed, yes. 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 StoreKit one wrapper, payment queue, operation dispatcher. Jesus Christ, the hours of pain I've spent dealing with StoreKit one really make me not want to look at this again, but yeah, I mean, just a pretty dumb wrapper around StoreKit one. And if we're on iOS 15 at least, because StoreKit 2 is available since iOS 15, and product is StoreKit 2 product. Excuse me, which actually is okay, just a type alias for StoreKit product. Purchase. Then there's some test products that they, yeah, that's nice. Because even though StoreKit 2 has all this like mocking things, that's like nice, but again, last company I was with, we had all the StoreKit related stuff extracted into a separate Swift package because we would kind of use Swift packages to modularize the code base, and you need a app bundle to have all the mocking work. So I had to kind of do the same mocking as I'm seeing here anyway, which was very disappointing back then. And I remember there's also, like, even though the StoreKit 2 is quite modern and all the model objects are like Swift structs, there's quite a few cases where Apple doesn't make the initializer public, so you cannot just use it to create some mock one. I also had to like basically use protocols. Anyway, so this is purchase function using returning a task. No, not returning a task, launching a task. Excuse me. Why do you need to? I don't think you need to do this, but anyway. And yes, do catch, because you don't want those errors to just evaporate. Self-purchase. And this is another wrapper, purchase results, simulate. Yeah. This is the actual StoreKit 2 stuff, where you can choose to simulate when you're in sandbox. You can finally add a user ID Is this like... sorry, I kind of... Yeah, you can finally take a user ID and attach it to a purchase as it goes through the webhooks and everything, which you couldn't do with StoreKit 1, which is absolutely insane. But yeah, it's... Now, the catch is that it needs to be UID formatted, so I was like, okay, they try to create a UID from UID string, which is the user ID that you can set, but is this gonna fail when the string is not like UUID format? Because this particular, yeah, this can return nil. It's not throwing, it's like, oh, okay. I guess it's up to you to somehow, like, you know, if you want this to work, you just need to register a user ID that has UUID format. Which is fair, I guess. Maybe I would show some warning saying like, yo, if there's user ID, but this didn't work. I don't know, being like, yo, if you want this feature to work, you need to give me something that's UUID compatible. I guess this is win-back offers. Okay, that's something. I mean, they have it like marked with Swift 6, but it's something that was added with iOS. I mean, yeah, iOS 18 and I joined it. Okay, and it makes the purchase. Handle error. And we get back a result. What is the result? Purchase result data. Transaction, store transaction, that's okay, that's a RevenueCat thing. Customer info and user cancelled, so and this throws if, okay, so I guess when the user cancels, it doesn't just throw, but instead lets you know like that. Okay, how long have I been? 1 hour 14. I think that I will leave it here. There's maybe we can last thing we can take a look at is the user attribution, how they do like networking and basically the analytics part, which is always interesting, at least to me. So let's quickly take a look at that. Where did I? Yeah, you can do purchases shared login. So if we go there, login, self login, identity manager. Okay, login, operation dispatcher, dispatch on main thread. This favor. Okay, let's take a look at it. Identity manager. Here's backend. Okay. Is this the place where I can set attributes to my user, such as, I don't know, if he's pro? I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, sure, why not? On or she, or there. switch user, reset caches and save. Device cache, clear HTTP client caches. Okay, login, attributes, sync, subscriber, attributes. Let's take a look at that backend. Okay, that's a class. And I want either identity or customer API. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the difference is. Login. Okay, this is just login. So let's do customer where. Yeah. What is attribution network? Okay, that's when a user installs from some campaign or ad. This is how we measure that. Okay, so RevenueCat can do that for you as well. The Apple has their own. This is to upload, I guess, StoreKit 1 receipt. No, okay, this is StoreKit 1 receipt. This is JWS token. What's the difference between? Anyway, no, for StoreKit 2 you send that. I think there's enough material on the internet about StoreKit 2 and stuff, so I'm not going to spend too much time there. But anyway, let's. Post subscriber attributes. I mean, we could take a look at the docs where. I mean, this is identifying users. Yeah, how to set customer attributes. Yes, I think that's what I want. Yeah. This is one of my topics of interest because dealing with these free-form dictionaries and how to serialize them in Swift is a pain. So let's see what they do. Attribution poster. Post attribution data. Backend. So now we're like one level up. But anyway, so we get something called subscriber attributes dictionary, which is a dictionary where the key is the string, and this is k. Subscriber attribute is, why is there the key again? Value is always string. Okay, that's one way to make your life easier. or what we can actually, I want to custom attributes. Yeah, they have reserved attributes, makes sense. They have like these, okay, attribute, purchases shared attribution. Let's purchases. Attribution type factory. Let attribution fetch attribution poster. Public attribution. Just say, okay, here we go. And this should have a method called set email, for instance, which literally just subscriber attribution manager set email. Set reserved attribute dot email. Yep. Which is not public because that would be a topic for another video, but you cannot, I mean, it's people don't do that, making an enum public. You basically use structs with static constants, because then if you add a case, it's basically, it's technically breaking change and ship it, because suddenly clients could basically start throwing errors saying that their enums, when they're like switch over enums, it's not exhaustive. But yeah, set reserved attribute. I mean, this always happens over time, but I feel like there's a few too many layers than there necessarily has to be. But value for this user, set attribute. Yeah, which basically just, yeah, and this is a raw string already. Store set attribute locally, and then at some point it gets and device cache store subscriber attribute. Okay, so it's kind of like gets duplicated for the yeah. I think we've gone the whole circle here. Attribution poster. I'm kind of interested in where it turns it into a JSON or form data. JSON probably. Post subscriber attributes, new data, which is still, okay, here it erases it to string and any to instead of like using codable or something. New data is equal to data. We are already yeah, at some point it just gets erased, I guess, to string any. Let's no, well, that's okay. Yeah, but still string any. But then if we go back to the backend, post subscriber attributes, and now we're like Anyway, and this is the... Maybe I was wrong. Maybe that's not what it's using. But anyway, we know where we are here. Okay, subscriber attributes. It is not codable unless it's... No, this is not. This is something custom. That's not codable. You don't know. I don't know. Like, okay, operation. Post subscription operation. So okay, doing yeah. What is HTTP client? Something around Euro session. No surprises here. Okay, so here's the logic to calculate like back off and stuff. Yeah, this is, I remember seeing this in their Open API specs. Okay. So they have, I mean, this is old school. This reminds me of like, I don't know, more than 10 years ago when you would use operation queues to do net requests on iOS. Network operation, inheritance. And like, yeah, that's the old NS operation. This is a blast from the past. And okay, so what is it doing actually? Ooh, key value observing. Not interesting that this is atomic, but must have a reason. Did start. No, start with override is executing, override is finished, is cancelled. Init, init, main. I guess this is where it's executing. I mean, this seems like. And what is on that higher level? Okay, so I guess that all happens here. Post, begin, post, HTTP request. That's standard. No, that's something from RevenueCat. HTTP client perform requests, response and completion. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I just wonder when, like, this is from like 2022. It's not that. I think I just wonder how old the code, like doing this, using those operation queues is. I mean, don't change things that work. I mean, like nothing against that, but operation queue 2022. I don't know. Maybe it was like Moved or something. Yeah, it's older than that. That's, I guess, or I don't know. Anyway. Okay, I think I will leave it here. If there's something you would be interested in particular, let me know. I might do an extra video digging into tests and testing, how they do that. That's something I would be personally interested in. And I think that's it for now. Thanks for watching.